For some time now, you've been feeling something strange, a sense of heaviness that cannot be explained only by everyday fatigue, a lack of motivation that appears even when, in theory, it shouldn't, anxiety, fear, a persistent impression that life is stuck, as if you're making an effort but something invisible is holding everything in place. And if you've arrived at this video right now, this is not an accident. There is a reason you are here at this specific moment. You need to understand what is happening with your vibration. A human being's vibration is not fixed. It is not a permanent trait, nor a sealed destiny. Your personal vibrational frequency is in constant transformation. It changes throughout the day. It changes according to the thoughts you feed, the emotions you feel, the environments you frequent, and the people you interact with. And, more importantly, this vibration does not stay only within you. It interacts with the world. Everything that exists is energy, and all energy vibrates at a certain frequency. This is not belief. It is not abstract spirituality. It is a universal law. The Hermetic law of vibration makes this clear. Nothing is at rest. Everything moves. Everything vibrates. Thoughts vibrate. Emotions vibrate. Words vibrate. Environments vibrate. People vibrate. When you are in a dense emotional state, fear, sadness, anxiety, anger, guilt, your vibration becomes heavy. And by the law of resonance, you begin to attract exactly what is on the same frequency. Difficult people, conflicts, blocked situations, experiences that seem to confirm that life is against you, not because there is punishment, but because there is vibrational compatibility. Now, observe the other side. Think of a moment when you entered an environment where people were vibrating at a higher level. It could be a prayer circle, a meditation group, intense physical activity, a place with good music, or any space where there is presence, focus, and elevated energy. What happens to you in those places? Your vibration begins to rise naturally, without effort, without complex techniques, simply through resonance. This happens because vibration is contagious. In the same way, you may have experienced the opposite. One day everything was flowing. You felt light, confident, centered. Then someone approaches carrying problems, complaints, gossip, fear. Within minutes, your energy collapses. It feels like it came out of nowhere, but it didn't. It was vibrational interaction. This is a truth that few people accept. Your vibrational frequency influences the environment, but it is also influenced by it. And when you do not learn to stabilize your own vibration, you become extremely volatile. Any person, any situation, any environment gains power over you. And this is a huge problem, because when your vibration is not shielded, you live reacting. You react to people. You react to circumstances. You react to the world. Your energy rises and falls constantly, without control. And a person like this does not create their own reality. They only respond to what happens. What you truly want is the opposite of this. You want to develop personal magnetism. Magnetism is not about dominating anyone. It is not about controlling others. It is internal coherence. People with personal magnetism are those who have learned to vibrate in a stable way. They influence the environment more than they are influenced by it. And because they are vibrating in a higher and more consistent way, they end up attracting compatible experiences, interesting people, opportunities, situations that flow with less friction. This is not luck. It is resonance. There is a phrase that summarizes all of this with absolute precision. You do not attract what you want. You attract what you are. This is not a metaphor. It is not poetry. It is applied metaphysics. It is the way the field of reality works. The universe does not respond to your verbal desire. It responds to your real frequency. It is useless to desire peace while vibrating fear. It is useless to desire abundance while vibrating scarcity. It is useless to desire love while vibrating neediness. The most important question, therefore, is not, what do I want? But rather, What frequency am I vibrating in every day, most of the time? While you do not understand this, life feels unfair, confusing, chaotic. But when you do understand it, something changes. You stop feeling like a victim of circumstances and begin to perceive that there is a silent logic operating behind everything. And from here on, what you are going to understand is how this logic works in practice and how to leave the vibrational states that block life. When you begin to observe your own life more closely, something becomes impossible to ignore. There are periods when everything seems to flow and others when absolutely everything gets stuck. No matter how much you try, plan, or make an effort, things simply do not move. Projects do not advance. Relationships enter conflict. The body loses energy. The mind becomes heavy. Most people call this bad luck, a rough phase, or a test from life. But what is really happening is something much more precise. A vibrational state incompatible with what you want to experience. Physics already explains this phenomenon in a simple way through resonance. Imagine two identical crystal glasses placed close to each other. When you strike one of them, the other begins to vibrate on its own, even without being directly touched. This happens because they enter the same frequency. The universe works exactly like this. It does not respond to isolated intention. It responds to dominant frequency. If you vibrate fear, anxiety, insecurity, or scarcity, you enter resonance with situations, people, and experiences that carry the same energetic quality. No matter how much you desire something different, the field responds to what is active, not to what is idealized. That is why so many people say, "I want to change my life," but continue living the same repetitions. Desire did not change vibration, and without vibrational change, there is no change in reality. This mechanism is not punitive. There is no judgment. There is vibrational mathematics. It is like trying to tune into a specific radio station without adjusting the dial correctly. You may want to hear a specific song, but if you are on the wrong frequency, all you will hear is noise. Reality works the same way. To understand this even more deeply, there is an extremely clear tool called the scale of consciousness. This scale organizes human emotional and conscious states according to their vibrational frequency, not as opinion, but as a map of how human experience functions. When a person is vibrating below the level of courage, they live in the densest fields of experience. Shame, guilt, apathy, fear, and anger dominate the internal state. At these levels, life enters survival mode. Nothing grows. Everything requires excessive effort. The body loses vitality. The mind becomes confused. Decisions are made from impulse or defense. The constant sensation is running, but not getting anywhere. This is the point where many people say life feels blocked. And in fact, it is. But not because the universe has blocked something, rather because that vibrational state does not sustain expansion. It only sustains repetition and the maintenance of the minimum required to survive. When frequency begins to rise and crosses the field of courage, something changes. Perception expands. The person begins to take responsibility for their internal state. Instead of blaming the world, they begin to observe themselves. Acceptance appears, then reason. At this point, life begins to respond differently. Problems are seen as challenges. Situations that were once paralyzing become manageable. The sense of movement returns. And in higher vibrational states, love, joy, peace, the experience changes radically. Life stops being a battlefield and becomes a field of creation. Solutions appear more easily. Connections become more natural. Effort decreases, not because you do less, but because you act from internal coherence. This explains why two people can live very similar external situations and still have completely different experiences. It is not the event that defines the experience. It is the frequency from which it is lived. Now pause for a moment and observe your own routine. Which emotions appear most frequently in your days? Do you spend more time in tension or in presence, in fear or in trust, in complaint or in gratitude? Not as judgment, but as diagnosis, because the reality you are living today is a direct reflection of this. As long as you remain vibrating in dense states, no matter how much you try to change the external world, the field will continue returning compatible experiences. But when you consciously begin to raise your vibration, something fundamental happens. Your perception changes first, and then the world follows. That is why true transformation does not begin by trying to fix everything outside. It begins by adjusting the internal state. And here is a crucial point that few people understand. Raising vibration is not pretending positivity. It is not denying emotions. It is not repressing what you feel. It is learning to step out of emotional autopilot and take command of your own energetic field. From here on, what truly matters is understanding how to do this in practice, not as beautiful theory, but as direct action. Because when you learn how to change your vibrational state through the body, through breathing, and through awareness, the change happens quickly. And that is exactly what comes next. If what I'm saying makes sense to you, and you feel ready to deepen this experience, I've left a more complete material in the pinned comment. You don't need to look at it now. Just remember it when the time feels right. The biggest mistake is thinking the signs come from the outside. If this video made sense to you, it's not a coincidence. Subscribe now, because the next messages arrive exactly when you need to hear them. After understanding that your reality responds to your frequency and not to your desires, the most important question of all arises. How, in practice, do you change this vibration? Not in theory, not in rare moments of inspiration, but in daily life. When fear appears, when anxiety tightens, when discouragement tries to take over. The answer lies in something simple, but that requires presence and responsibility. Learning to consciously take control of your own internal state. Most people live on vibrational autopilot. They wake up already reacting to what they think, what they feel, and what happens around them. One piece of news, one conversation, one unexpected problem is enough to completely collapse the energetic field. This happens because vibration is not stabilized. It oscillates constantly according to external stimuli, and an unstable vibration creates an unstable life. Raising vibration does not mean never feeling fear, sadness, or insecurity again. That would be unrealistic. Raising vibration means not getting stuck in those states. It means recognizing when they arise and knowing exactly what to do so you are not dragged by them. This is where the technique of conscious vibrational elevation comes in, structured into 3 simple and powerful movements. The first movement is to leave the mind and return to the body. Every dense vibration begins as an excess of thoughts. Anxiety is the mind in the future. Guilt and regret are the mind in the past. When you are trapped in either of these places, your frequency automatically drops. That is why the first step is always to interrupt the mental flow and bring attention back to the now. Close your eyes for a few moments and bring awareness to your breathing. Inhale, counting to 4. Hold briefly. Exhale slowly, counting to 6. This rhythm is not random. It communicates safety to the nervous system. With each long exhalation, the body understands that there is no immediate danger. And when the body relaxes, the vibration naturally begins to rise. As you breathe, notice your feet touching the ground. Feel the weight of your body. Observe the air coming in and going out. Do not try to change anything beyond this. Just be present. This simple movement already takes you out of the field of fear and brings you into the field of presence. And in the present, vibration is always higher than in an uncontrolled mind. The second movement is to consciously activate gratitude, not as an idea, but as a sensation. Gratitude is not thinking, "I am grateful." Gratitude is feeling recognition for what exists now. Place your hands at the center of your chest and ask yourself, honestly, What can I be grateful for at this exact moment? It can be something simple, being able to breathe, being alive, being learning, having survived another day. When you activate gratitude, something changes immediately in the field. The body leaves scarcity mode and enters abundance mode. The frequency rises because gratitude is incompatible with fear. They cannot coexist. The more you sustain this state, the more the field expands, and the environment around you begins to respond to this change. The third movement is the conscious choice of the vibration you want to sustain. And here is a truth that changes everything. You choose how you vibrate. Even if you do not choose what happens outside, you choose the frequency with which you respond. When you verbalize this choice with intention, the field organizes itself around it. Say internally, with presence, I choose to vibrate in love, or I choose to vibrate in peace, or I choose to vibrate in abundance. Do not say it as an empty phrase. Say it feeling it in the chest, in the body, in the breath. This declaration is not for the universe. It is for you. It is an internal command that reorganizes your state. When these three movements align, presence in the body, felt gratitude, and conscious choice, the vibration rises almost immediately, not by magic, but because you leave unconscious reaction and enter command of your own energetic field. And here comes an essential point. Your vibration is not caused by people, situations, or the world. It is only affected by them if you allow it. When you learn to sustain a higher vibrational state, you stop being a hostage to the environment and become a reference. Instead of being pulled down, you begin to elevate the field around you. This is personal magnetism. People with magnetism are not those who control others, but those who master themselves. They do not react to everything. They choose. And because of that, they attract more aligned experiences, healthier relationships, and more coherent opportunities. The more you practice this technique, the faster your body learns. There comes a moment when you notice the vibration dropping and, almost automatically, return to center. This is true mastery. It is not never falling. It is knowing how to return. And when you begin to live this way, something profound happens. Life stops feeling like a constant battlefield and begins to organize itself with more fluidity. Not because problems disappear, but because you no longer vibrate at the same level as them. In the next part, we will go deeper into what happens when this vibration begins to stabilize and how this changes the way people, situations, and opportunities respond to you. When you begin to consciously apply the vibrational elevation technique and realize that you can change your internal state in just a few minutes, an even more decisive stage emerges: stabilization of vibration. Raising vibration is important, but it is not enough. What truly transforms reality is sustaining that frequency over time, regardless of what happens outside. Most people can raise their vibration momentarily. They meditate, pray, listen to something inspiring, or enter a positive environment and feel immediate relief. But as soon as they return to routine, face a problem, or encounter a negative stimulus, everything collapses. This happens because the vibration was not stabilized. It was only stimulated. Stabilizing vibration means turning an elevated state into your reference point, not an exception. It means that even in the face of challenges, you do not automatically fall into dense states such as fear, anger, or discouragement. You may feel discomfort, but you do not remain in it. The return to balance becomes fast and almost automatic. This is where vibrational shielding comes in. Shielding vibration is not closing yourself off from the world or ignoring problems. It is the ability to not allow external stimuli to determine your internal state. What happens outside only affects your frequency if you allow it. People with shielded vibration move through dense environments without contamination. They deal with conflict without losing center. They pass through challenges without emotional collapse. This is not chance. It is training of awareness and internal coherence. When vibration stabilizes, the field around you responds. People react differently to your presence. Situations flow with less friction. Opportunities arise more naturally. Not because you control reality, but because you emit a clear, constant, and coherent signal. Here enters the principle of resonance. The universe responds to the dominant frequency. When vibration oscillates constantly, what you attract is also unstable. When it stabilizes, results take on the same quality: more clarity, more maturity, more alignment. A common mistake is believing that high vibration is euphoria. It is not. High vibration is calm, presence, and clarity. Intense emotional states are peaks, not sustainable bases. Confusing vibration with excitement generates frustration and a sense of failure when the peak passes. Another mistake is trying to control the environment to protect your energy. This is not shielding, it is fragility. True shielding does not depend on the external world. It depends on internal mastery. When you understand this, something shifts. You stop fighting the world and begin organizing your own field. Your vibration stops depending on circumstances and becomes a conscious choice, renewed every day. The real work is not raising vibration once. It is returning to it whenever you leave. It is taking responsibility for your own internal state. When this happens, life stops being a battlefield and becomes a field of response. After everything you have seen here, one truth becomes clear. Your vibration is not random. It is the direct reflection of how you live, think, and react. And above all, it is a choice. For a long time, you may have believed that circumstances controlled your internal state. But the moment you understand that you can choose how to vibrate, you stop reacting and begin leading. Raising vibration is not denying pain. It is not getting lost in it. Difficult. Emotions may arise, but they do not need to become permanent. The practice you learned here is not a single event, it is a path of return, presence, gratitude, and conscious choice. Returning to center is what creates strength. Over time, coherence increases. What once knocked you down passes. Life begins to respond not through effort, but through compatibility. Vibration is not a passing emotion. It is the state from which you live. When that state changes, everything changes with it. No one can vibrate for you. That responsibility is yours alone, and so is that power. The vibration you sustain now is the reality that begins to form. Choose consciously. Choose truthfully. If this message truly resonated with you, if you felt that quiet inner shift, that sense that your mind is ready for something greater, I left a resource in the pinned comment that goes deeper into this process. I only recommend it for those who feel genuinely ready to accelerate their results, but follow it in your own time. If it calls to you, you'll find it there. Before you go, there's something important you need to understand. In the previous video, I explain why some days everything flows and others collapse, and how your internal state begins shifting long before you notice it consciously. If this video made sense to you, that one explains what prepared you to be here. It's on your screen now.